And of course, we have the academy that Joe is taking care of. And now to my details. My name is Jens Blöck. I'm working for GMG since 2008. So I have my anniversary this year, 10 years at GMG. So at this point, I'm already one of the older guys here. My life before GMGs, I've graduated at the Hochschule der Medien in Stuttgart, as many of our co-workers did. So they're mainly printing engineers. I'm an audiovisual, more a general player. And before working for GMG, I used to work for Hewlett-Packard, doing consultancy in various different projects. And in the industry, I'm working since 1995. Actually, I did a lot of design and marketing, especially in gastronomy, so doing flyers and programs for various bars, pubs, and clubs. And now let's dig into our agenda for today. So I want to tell you something about proofing and mockup. What are the solutions today? Then I want to give you a short introduction into the SureColor S80600 and our applications. And of course, the most interesting part, I'm going to do a live demo in the software. So proofing, what is proofing? The proof is an accurate and consistent simulation of color and also the appearance of a final production print result. It acts as a physical reference. All variables are known. For example, printer is known, the inks are known, the paper is known, the software is known. So I have everything under control to have a maximum reliability and security in terms of color communication. So when I want to communicate color in whatever way, the most safe option would be a proof. However, it's a simulation, same as a mockup. So you can say a proof could act some way as a mockup, because a mockup is a simulation, a model of a design or a final product that's used for demonstration, especially design, evaluation, promotion, and other purposes. You want to show your customer or your stakeholders how your final product might look like. There's a slight difference between a mock-up and a prototype. A prototype does have a part of its functionality. Talking about packaging, you wouldn't use a mock-up to wrap around some food, but with a prototype, it actually works. So the difference is a little bit the functionality, the given functionality of a prototype must not be part of a mock-up. So let's look into the current solution we have on the market, starting from a proofing environment. So the most common used printers is a water-based system, mainly with an extended gamut, for example, the Epson SCP-7000. It supports proof media for high quality proofing. We have an extended gamut to cover as many as possible colors. Most often we have inline measuring, a spectropoofer to measure our results inline, give a validation to the proof. However, when it comes to simulation of transparent or metallic films, this system might not be the best because you're mainly proofing in printer. So this brings us to the next possible device. Again, it's a water-based system. It's also built by Epson. It's the 7900 WT, still available on the market, on demand at least. So we can use proof film, and we have a white ink, and we also have an extended gamut. However, one of the problems of the system is that the ink is quite sensitive, especially if you print in reverse with a white, because the white is not a real ink. It's more like a foam. It's not actual real pigments in the ink, but it's like a foam, you could imagine. And the same problem applies to the density, or the same course. The ink is not an ink but a foam, so we don't have a good white density for simulation purposes. So let's move on in direction of mockup. The next possible solution that's already established on the market is a solvent-based system, a Roland VS, for example, or VSI system. It has solvent-based inks, it has white, it has metallic inks, and we can print on many different solvent substrates and films. So we have a much broader ability for the substrate we are using for our simulation. Again, we have white and metallic inks for special applications. One of the main problems of this device is its quite high maintenance efforts needed to have it working. So you need a person that takes care all the time about the printer, especially if you do not production print on it, but you want to proof or print from time to time, then you spend the same time you're printing that you're doing maintenance, not a good thing. Also, the printing speed is not that fast. It really takes some time to make a huge printout as seen in this small picture. And another thing is, per default, the printer does not come with extended gamut inks. Some players in the market do have special inks for them, but I'm talking about the general device. So with the regular CMYK inkset, it has a small gamut. But also, if you use the extended gamut inks of this printer with the current solution on the market, it's possible to use those inks for your spot colors, but not as a real extended gamut. So that's just a side note. So then we're almost there doing the perfect mockup. We're talking about a UV ink system. So it's UV inks, and additionally it has a white ink and a varnish ink for glossing, embossing effects. It's the Roland LEC series. There are different sizes available on the market. So main advantage is I can use almost any possible production substrate, and I have white and varnish as special inks for my surface finishing effects. However, the price is very expensive for this device, and the maintenance efforts are even more higher than for the solvent system, and it's even slower than the solvent system. So it really takes a lot of time for maintenance, and it takes a lot of time to print something. And the inkset is, well, it does not cover a really big gamut. So we have the problem that we can either do a color accurate proof, but with problems simulating the appearance, the look and feel of our surface, or we could have a very good simulation of our surface, of the substrates, but we don't have an accurate color. And this is where we're gonna jump in with the device that we found could help everybody to have a better quality when mock-up creation or when proofing with a certain look and feel is required. So we're talking about the Epson SureColor S80600 printer. It's a signage printer. It's mainly aimed for the signage markets, printing banners, stand-ups, posters, and whatever. However, Epson claims it has a photographic image quality, and yes, that's true what they are saying. The printer can be calibrated within very tight tolerances. I'm speaking about 0.5 delta E. This is proofing quality. So you're able to recalibrate your printer and get it in the same condition every time, but not only on one device, but the same quality is also when working with different devices. So it's really good for color communication. I'm sending a job to a 8600, not here in Tübingen, but for example in New York. I'm pretty sure the results color-wise will be the same that I would get here. Then it has an extended gamut. It uses orange and red inks. Why does it use orange and red instead of orange and green? Mainly it's because it's a signage printer, and red is quite important for the signage applications. Then it has special inks, white or silver metallic. So you cannot drive both of them at the same time. You need to change them. It's quite easy to change them. However, if you have a job where you need to have both in one job, that might not be the absolute perfect solution. Then the color gamut is good, so we can print up to 98% of the Pantone inks. Epson claims a superior media compatibility. That's true. You have a broad choice of different substrates. Epson already included all the media profiles for typical sinus applications in the cloud. So all the media profiles from different manufacturers are available and can be used also in our application out of the box. Then another advantage of this printer is to have a same-day lamination, especially for use cases like printing on a transfer film. With the ability to have a same-day lamination, you could laminate your transfer film to your final substrate within 1 day. Usually you should wait at least 1 day before doing such tasks. With this printer, it's possible to continue working on your mock-up. And it has a quite big print head, so there's a high print speed possible with this printer. You could compare it more or less to your known proofing devices. That brings us to some kind of substrate proofing. So we could use this printer with our application to close the gap between conventional proofing on a proofing substrate and a mock-up creation on my production substrate. So we could create color accurate and repeatable mock-ups, or we could extend the look and feel of our proofs depending on the perspective you're taking here. So we're using ColorProof. Everybody who does proofing knows the software, so it provides an ease of use and fail-safe RIP solution. And also for this printer, customer can rely on the well-known user experience. So the printer does not behave different than any other proofing printers that I already know. So also the calibration concept that's unique to ColorProof can be used for this printer. So you can recalibrate your device anytime, anywhere, and you get the same predictable results in proofing. For the color management of the solution, we decided we have the best one on the market, that's OpenColor. So we are using OpenColor for profiling, which allows a quick and easy characterization of your simulation color space based on the spectral information that's available. So if you don't have any spectral information, never mind. We already have some of them on board in OpenColor. So the typical offset characterizations are already per default in the database. Also the known spot colors from Pantone are included. So you might only do some adaptation to it using our unique color correction tools. Or instead you want to measure your target, you could do it using a mini strip. So instead of measuring certain pages of test charts, you could just rely on a very small strip, measure them. Anything else will be calculated by the prediction model used for the overprints, for the calculation of the overprints of the profile. So it saves a lot of time to have a high quality profile created. However, as I said, the main challenge is in mockup, I want to have different substrates available for the closest simulation of my production substrates. So how to manage this? So as a user, you want to use the media that's very close or even your production stock. So what to do here? That's why we built in a calibration creation wizard. You can do your media profiles on your own using a fast and easy wizard that guides you to the whole process, both into OpenColor and ColorProof at the same time. So it's fully integrated into OpenColor and ColorProof. You can manage everything you did directly in OpenColor, and it's a wizard-driven system. So it's 5 easy steps to be production ready. First job is just a streamlined configuration of the most important printing parameters. Next step is evaluate, are my settings the correct one or not? I'm going to do this on a visual evaluation form. Once I'm satisfied with the results, just print a test chart, measure it, and then click finalize for the automatic synchronization of what you did in any connected application. So at this point, we are starting a demonstration. So I'm showing you in detail what I told you on a PowerPoint. But before we're going to start, I'm shortly hand over to Joe, who has some additional questions for you.
Yeah, thank you, Jens. In the meantime, when Jens is switching to the live demo session, of course, I want to know again something from your side, because as we see before, most of you already do some kind of mock-up or substrate proofing production, or are interested in the future in some such kind of thing. So for us, interesting is which are the materials you are interested to have on such a system. So do you create product mockups and substrate proofing mainly for flexible packaging, corrugated board, folding carton or beverage carton, specials like cups, tubes, cans, metallized stuff, or labels? This is multiple choice, so you can select more than 1 or 2, 3 of the applications here, and then we will see which are for you the most interesting materials. I'm very excited. We did that in the morning in the German session, so we will see if it's the same here in the English international session. So we have now 69% are voted. So maybe for you as an info, we are 70 attendees, 69 attendees at all today. So we have now 72% voted. I will close it right now. and share with you the result. So I guess it's quite similar to German session this morning. So flexible packaging is on the first place with 77%, and then we have folding cartoon. Okay, that's a bit more than in the German session, and then it's labels and specials and correct board in the last session. So it's, yeah, for us just interesting also what are your opinion here, and maybe also for you what the market looks like and who its focus is spent on. All right, so hide again, and Jens, it's your turn again. You can share your screen, perfect, and we can go on with the live session.
So some of you already have seen the user interface of ColorProof. As promised, there is no real difference between a proofing device and a mock-up device in our software. There's some differences though. So for example, we could say which medium is currently loaded in the printer. So we have a JetComp media loaded up on the printer, and we've configured our software to print on JetComp profiles. We could see, as with other printers too, the ink status. As you can see, it's time to switch to new inks. And I have an additional status because heating is important for solvent devices. You need a preheating to start production. That's quite handy that I can start the preheating in our software before creating a job and then running to the printer and see, it needs another 5 minutes for preheating. So I can start this feature directly from the software. Additional maintenance features are also directly available. So you could start a feed adjustment or print a nozzle pattern, do a cleaning or whatever. As you can see, we already have a calibration, a media profile provided out of the box here on this demo. However, I'm gonna start with a new medium because I want to insert a new film into my printer. So imagine I'm standing in front of the printer, putting in the roll, which is an easy task. So the hardware is really easy to handle. And let's look what the printer is doing. So this is a control dashboard used by Epson because it's far bigger than the small screen on the printer. So you can control your media settings directly from this dashboard. The printer and the software both are communicating with this dashboard. As you can see, we have 4 mediums at the moment set up. So I'm gonna create a new medium for this printer. I'm gonna give it a name, for example, my film. I'm selecting the type of media. That's quite important because when switching the type of media, I have slightly different settings. So out of the box, all of these presets given by Epson are quite good. You could do some slight adjustments if you like, but mainly leave them as they are. Just choose the correct media type because depending on the media type you're using, you will have different print modes available in the software. So I'm going to switch this to film. And then I'm going to say OK. And I'm going to activate it. That's the current medium because I just inserted my new film. And I'm going to apply this in the application. So it's updating the printer, but it is also updating the software. Let's switch back to the general overview. As you can see, ColorProof already detects I have my film loaded in ColorProof. Loaded on the printer, but I still have the JetComp. So what to do next? Well, I need the My Film in my application. It's an easy task. I'm just syncing with the printer media. As you can see, the 4 JetComps, they are all already imported. I'm going to import my new film into ColorProof. Just takes a blink of a second and it's there. So I'm still working with the JetComp. I don't want this, so I can also synchronize to the active media in my application. So ColorProof switches to my film. I don't have any calibration yet because I didn't have any media profiling done so far. This is where I'm going to use the calibration creation wizard, which can also be started from this line. Next to the synchronize, we have the calibration creation wizard that we're going to start now. It sees which medium, depending on the medium type which is selected, I have different set of available settings. So the backlit print modes are mainly for the signage. So if your light is behind your foil, so that's typical signage use cases. But we implemented them for whatever use case might be important for you. Our goal is to have at least 3 different qualities. So we have one print mode with a small resolution and a small pass count, and one with a high resolution and a high pass count. Then for film, we have differences between reverse print and front print. So I'm going to select this reverse print with a high resolution because I want to have a high quality mockup. The next step that I have to do is to change or adjust my printing direction. I'm going to go for unidirectional because quality-wise, it's much better, especially if you think of drying on a special substrate. Instead of spraying ink all the time, it's better to spray ink in one direction and let it dry when the printhead returns. Yes, it takes a little bit longer, but the quality is far better, and also the drying and the over-inking is far better if you're using unidirectional setting. Then we have 2 new features for this driver. That's called ink density. So that's the ink amount. It's an intelligent way of controlling the ink amount. You can really use lower values here. So we set some defaults. It's for the colors, it's 60, and for the white, I really want to have a high density. So the default is 100. So you could play around with the settings and then switch to the next page to print a visual test form to see if the settings you're using, the resolution and the density would fit to your substrate. I cannot do this right now, unfortunately, because I don't have a measurement device connected. They're all in use at the moment. I'm very sorry for this. For the reason, I'm going to show you the visual evaluation chart just here. So we have some elements, some overprinting elements. And when printing this one, you really see quite on a glance if there are over-inking effects, if there's a lot of amount of inks. You could check your negative text. Is it readable? Is it not readable? Depending on this setting or the quality of this chart, you could jump one step back, change your setting, adjust a little bit your ink density, and try it once again with the visual test form. Usually it's 1 or 2 iterations. The more experience you have, maybe you will choose the correct ink density settings spot on the first try. Also, it will give me a suggestion of the name depending on the print mode. I'm going to leave this as it is because it's the GMG naming convention. Just give it a version like with everything in colorproof. The next step would be to print a test chart. It looks absolutely the same as printing a test chart on a calibration visit, and you measure this test chart. Once we're done, we're finalizing. After finalizing, which I cannot show you live, but I'm going to show you how it will look in the software afterwards. You will have a calibration set in your software. The printer will be in a calibrated state, and then if OpenColor is open, we also could see that the output conditions are created directly in OpenColor. So each and any medium that I've profiled is available in OpenColor and ready for profiling. So I could create a new project, call it demo. I'm going to use flexo printing. I want to simulate film, and I'm going to choose an iso-coated, and then it already suggests me to use one of the 8600s, but I could also look up the database, what I'm going to do, what I'm going to have for different output conditions. Let's go for the clear polyfilm, calculate the profile, and publish. I'm going to save my set, and I could download this directly from OpenColor into Colorproof and start creating my mockup based on a spectral profile of OpenColor. I've did this several times in real time, so my record was within 45 minutes. I was ready from unwrapping the roll to showing the proof to a customer. So quite handy, quite speedy. At this point, I'd like to hand over again to Joe to go to the question and answers, because from the demo perspective, I'm done. actually happy that I could show you the steps in detail. So, Joe, are there any questions during this session? Because I see we're already running out of time a little bit.
Yeah, but perfect. Thank you, Jens, for your demo. I guess really a perfect intro and session to show the basic functions of that new features. And of course, we have questions in the chat. I cannot answer or not bring all questions in the session, but I pick up the most important ones. So there's, for example, one question about the Epson 80600 usage. Does the printer having a daily use have to have a daily use in order to avoid ink or substrate issues? I guess this is meant to have to print daily. That's not a problem with drying the nozzles.
Yes,
and so on.
It's a very well-known problem for the roll-on printers. However, with this device, yeah, you need to do some maintenance from time to time, but the printer is talking to you. It will show you in the display if you should do some manual maintenance, and it's really easy to make a maintenance. I did it by myself, and I'm a product manager, not a printing engineer, and I was able to clean the printer. Also, it does some auto circulation in the background. So the printer in the past has been without use for several weeks, and without complaints, it was print ready within 20 minutes. So it's more comparable to a proofing device than a production device like a Roland solvent printer.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, perfect. Another question is regarding, maybe you said there was 1 day to laminate, and then there was the question, okay, it takes it several days to create a profile. May you have just to recheck the profiling here, how long it takes.
Profiling is a part of seconds, not days. Same day lamination actually means I'm going to print out my, for example, transfer film, wait maybe half an hour or an hour, and then you can applicate it, you can laminate it to your final substrate. Usually with other solvent devices, you should wait at least a day before laminating. With this printer, it's not needed. And profiling, as we have seen in my demo, it was 15 minutes without printing, without actual drying. As I said, I was ready from unwrapping the roll to showing a proof to a customer within 45 minutes. And the substrate was unknown to me before, so I also did 2 iterations to find out the correct ink density settings.
Okay. So really, from a new media substrate in the proofing system until the final press profile and proof, 45 minutes. And it also answered, I guess, another question, because
that's very challenging.
How much time
so that's 45 minutes.
Okay.
Is if you're on trade show and you don't have any time. Actually, if I want to make production quality or proof quality, I would spend some more time in the evaluation of the over-inking. Calculating a profile in open color is between seconds and minutes. Usually, if you don't have 15 inks in your simulation profile, then it's between a few seconds and a few minutes, the calculation of a profile.
So another question was also how much time takes normally an average calibration? So during the calibration creation visit.
The recalibration of a system, the printer is quite stable. So once you created your calibration, your profile, and you want to recalibrate it, for the interval, we did the same as we very often do with a WT printer. I do not recalibrate it on a daily basis because the mock-up has not that importance in terms of color accuracy. I want to have a certain accuracy, so it actually depends on your use cases. But once you calibrate a printer or you calibrate the printer once a week, it should be possible for this medium to have it within your color range at least 1 or 2 weeks. It behaves almost similar to a proofing device, and also it took me, when we recalibrated it, 1 or 2, maximum 3 iterations to have the printer back in color. So printing 3 charts, measuring 3 charts, it's, I would say, around 30 to 40 minutes to have it recalibrated.
Okay, thank you. I guess one or two more questions maximum, because there are a lot of questions. We can't answer all of them yet, so we'll follow up after the session. But one more is maybe word carrier sheet. Can I print directly on foil substrate, or is it a carrier sheet I have to laminate on the foil at the end? So I guess maybe some words just here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a roll printer, so you should have your substrates on a roll. I've shown you in my demo that we're using JetCom substrates. They're quite good because they're aimed for proofing and mock-up applications, but you can use whatever foil you get. Usually it's on a roll. And regarding grammature, there are borders. So if you have really thin foils, you might apply them to a carrier. So for example, the typical transfer films that I've been using in the past, they stick to a transfer to a liner, and then you don't have any problems. So using a very thin foil without a liner would be a problem with this device. But once applied to a liner, I don't see a big problem here.
Okay, so I would say last question for today, because we're already over time a bit. And the last question is why red is mentioned, because talking about ECG, then orange, green,
Yes.
violet, so on. Maybe just there's some words to it, and then.
Yeah, maybe I was a bit fast in my presentation. It's a signage printer. It's aimed to the signage market by Epson. And the most important color for signage is a plain, pure red. So that's why they changed, unfortunately, the green ink to a red ink and still have the orange ink. But we can live with that because the quality is still outstanding. Gamut-wise, yes, when it comes to real proofing and not mock-up applications, it would be more helpful to have a green or a blue ink. I had a chance to talk to the Epson guys in Japan this spring. We raised this issue, but well, maybe let's see what there will be in the future. But for the moment, it's the printer with the biggest gamut. So could it be bigger? Yes, it could be, but there is no better one available at the moment.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Jens. As said to the audience, all the other questions we follow up afterwards the session, because too much questions at the moment. You have to say something about upcoming events, right?
Yes, you definitely want to do hands-on with the printer, because you cannot walk to your local media market and look at it, because it's a big production device. We're going to show the device with our software on the Label Expo in Chicago in September. Finally, at the same date, there's the Fachpack event in Nuremberg. We also have a booth over there, directly next to the Epson booth. So we have the chance to show an 8600 in real life with samples and hands-on, both in the Americas and in the German region this September.
Perfect. Same date, 2 events distributed over the world. Also, if you want to see some real GMG guys here, we also invite you, if the travel is not too long, of course, to visit us here at our GMG Academy. Therefore, we have trainings about color management basics, also how to prepare test prints, how to care about test charts and measurements. And also, I saw in the chat there are some open color and profiling questions. Consider here on the 11th of October, we have open color training, proof and separation for the packaging industry. So if you're more interested within here, we also focus on mock-up production with that solution you saw today. So you just can go ahead, Jens, then you also see, okay, we talk about mini strips, and there is a 20% discount if you book all 3 trainings in a row. So if you want to join for all 3 of them, just register over our website and get a discount. I already posted in the chat the links to our website and also to more information regarding Colorproof 510 and the 8600. So we can go to the next slide. If you need more information, please feel free to get in contact with us, sales related or with general questions on our general email, info@gmgcolor.com. Technical, as you may know, support or trainings and knowledge on my side, and also we will show you then your perfect partner in your region if you are further interested in our solutions. All right. From my side, there's nothing. Yeah, okay. You have to add something.
Yeah, I just want to thank you for your time, and I'm very sorry that we don't have the time to answer all your questions. However, I'm very interested to get your feedback. So use the links in the presentation, spam me with all your questions. Our support team or even Joe will forward all the questions, and I'm going to take care that you will get all your questions answered, that you get all the information you need to work with our solutions.
Of course, so just to give you an overview, most are now a big thank you for the session. Some of the attendees already asked for samples. We can't hand over web session, but maybe if there are further interests. Okay. All right. So yeah, thank you very much. All also from my side. And from my side, thank you and goodbye, and hopefully see you at the next session. And Jens, thank you also.
Thank you. See you soon.
Bye-bye.